Hi, John.
Hey.
So today we're talking about artificial intelligence or AI,
Ooh,
and maybe, getting into a little bit of robotics.
I like it.
Just wanted to know your take on how you think this will change our society, the advancements that have been made so far in AI and robotics.
Well, already we've seen, there's a huge push towards whether it's, AI in think tanks or things of that nature to, people just exploring the idea of AI in terms of writing their own books, poetry, art, AI that is painting. I think the possibilities are endless. Like we will see, you know, development and exploration into ideas and areas we've never even thought of. Think about the idea of an AI painter or sculptor. They can probably pool the knowledge of all the painters and artists of the world and come together to form, some entirely new form of expressionism or something of that nature. The idea of AI in medicine, it can look at exploring different ways of doing things that humans have never thought of, and because of the sheer speed at which computers can process and, for lack of a better word, think, the potential for growth in this area, I think, is endless.
Overall, do you think these things will improve or worsen our society?
Well, like anything, I think it has the potential to do both. If we're not careful, it could, lead to the corruption of minds, the abuse of these advancements to either oppress people or subjugate them. But with the proper minds at the helm, this could serve to benefit humanity. If we have AI taking care of things like surgeries, exploration into dangerous areas, humans no longer need to endanger themselves to engage in exploration. These AIs can do the exploration for us, and we can benefit from what they find. And that's not to say that humans can't still, be exploring and, expose themselves to all these amazing new things. It just means that we can take out some of that, crazy level of danger and reduce that down so that humans can spend their time exploring other pastimes, other leisure activities to improve their minds, their bodies, their souls, however you want to put it.
Interesting. Very interesting ideas. So, if you could have AI or a robot to help you with something in your everyday life, what do you think you would want help with? Like, what would you use a robot for?
What activities? Tasks? Basically, would be like a personal assistant. I would have somebody to help me organize my day, my activities, help me stay on task, stay focused, take care of cleaning. I love cooking, so I would probably still want to engage in some of that myself. But there may be days where I'm busy, so an AI, whether it's in robot form or something like that, to take care of those tasks for me so that I can be more productive in the other areas of my life that need it, would be fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. I would love to have someone who could do chores around the house for me, like cleaning. So, yeah, thanks for your ideas, John. It was awesome to talk to you.
Not a problem. I look forward to it. I look forward to the next time we talk. Technology. Patricia, is it changing people for the better or for the worse?
I think it's doing both. It depends on the person. I think technology is an amazing tool and resource, but I also think that people can become easily addicted to things.
I agree.
Yeah, like their phones or social media. So, I mean, it's like anything in life, it has its advantages and disadvantages.
What do you think is one of the biggest advantages? it has for us right now?
I think information. We can access information so easily now. We can look up, anything we can dream of doing, we can Google it and find either a tutorial or a book. There's just endless information about every topic. And then, if you can't find what you're looking for, you can write about what you're looking for yourself online and help other people. So, that is huge right now.
Okay. What about a negative for technology? Something you think it's doing to, impact us negatively?
I mean, it definitely impacts our relationships, especially if they are more inclined to be introverted. They're not forced to go outside their comfort zone so much. They can stay home and send messages or just stay home and play video games and not really,
En-
yeah, not really
engage?
engage
Yeah, yeah.
in socializing with an actual human being. And I think while it is nice to be able to exchange messages easily, I also, think that that is not, like, that doesn't take the place of actually talking to a human face to face. I think our society still needs that in person connection. And I think, some people aren't getting that anymore because they're so involved with their online presence or,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, I think a big part of that is the technological advances surrounding things like social media. How do you feel about children being exposed to social media or things like that?
I definitely think it should be limited for them. Parents really need to be a role model for their children and, put boundaries in place for themselves as well. I think that's the best way, to be a good role model for children by limiting their own screen time and what they're doing on social media so that children can learn what is healthy. I think it's all about balance. There needs to be a healthy balance. And if parents find that their children are spending too much time in front of a screen or on social media, or they're being bullied, I think they need to be involved and they need to set boundaries for their kids where those things are concerned.
Okay. Last question for you. What do you think is the most important and beneficial technological advance? Sorry, beneficial technological advancement that we've seen? Doesn't have to be today. You can go all the way back to whenever.
Probably, I mean, technological advancement in medicine is probably the thing that has seriously affected our society and our world the most. Being able to mass produce vaccines, comes to mind, or, robots who can perform surgery. Things like that, I think, have actually really made a big difference in people's everyday lives around the globe.
Nice. All right. Well, that's all the questions I have for you. Thanks again for coming.
So, I've been really worried about my physical health lately and think that I need to have a far better routine. What do you think are the most important things that I should do to have good physical health?
That's a great question. I think it's a combination of things. You need to make sure that you're eating healthily. That means lots of fruits and vegetables, no junk food like fried food, and no sugary foods like cookies and chocolates. You can treat yourself here and there, of course, but don't make it part of your routine. And I also think that exercising is very, very important.
Hmm. How do you exercise and how often do you exercise?
I exercise by going to the gym, which is where I run on the treadmill and lift weights to tone and grow my muscles, which is super important to me. Usually, I work out for around 1 hour each time and try to go at least 5 times a week. How about you? What's your favorite way to exercise?
I do like going to the gym, but I enjoy it best when I mix it with going to classes like Zumba and Pilates classes. It's a great mix and it means that I don't get bored. Another thing that I'm trying to do as well as exercising is drinking way more water. It helps to keep you more energetic, helps your skin be clearer, and generally helps your health in a lot of ways. How much water do you drink in a day?
Let me think. Usually I aim for 2.5 liters of water a day, and I like adding lemons and strawberries to my water to make drinking more exciting because drinking only water every day can get a little bit boring. And one thing that I'm working on right now is having a very healthy sleep routine. Right now, I'm only sleeping for around 4 hours a night, and it's been making me feel very tired throughout the day. What about you? How many hours do you sleep?
I try to sleep for about 8 hours, but sometimes it's longer and sometimes it's shorter. The key is to sleep at the same time every night and wake up at the same time every morning so that you can build a routine. But you brought up an interesting point about feeling tired throughout the day. That's definitely something that I'm struggling with. I feel like my energy levels are low all the time, and I'm not sure what to do to help boost my energy. Do you have any tips for that?
Yeah, do you drink coffee in the morning?
I do. Actually, I think I drink about 3 cups of coffee a day.
Wow, that's a lot, but I do know some people that can drink up to 7 cups of coffee a day. So I don't know what to tell you. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing that you drink so much coffee, but maybe you should try not drinking coffee for like a week and see if your energy levels improve. Do you think that's something that you could do?
I did read in a study once that drinking coffee gives you a lot of caffeine, which can make you feel like you have a lot of energy at the time, but it really interrupts with your sleep schedule. So, for example, if you drink coffee at 6 p.m., you'll struggle to sleep. And maybe that's the reason why you don't actually get enough sleep. Do you drink a lot of coffee too?
Yeah, not too much. Sometimes I'll drink 1 cup. On another day, I'll drink 2 cups. Sometimes I can even drink 5 cups if I have a lot of things to do that day. But, my energy levels don't change too much when I drink coffee. I think I'm just so used to it now that it just doesn't impact me that much, which is probably not a good thing. What do you think?
I don't think that's a good thing at all. I think, as well as coffee, energy drinks is a problem. Yeah, sure, you might get energy in the moment, but it can really affect the quality of your sleep, not just the quantity. So that's definitely something that I think you should work on.
Yeah, I think we should both stop drinking coffee for a little while and see how it affects us. So recently, I've been coming across a lot of mental health posts on social media, such as Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and I've just been wondering, what is mental health? Could you please explain it to me?
Sure. So, in a nutshell, mental health is about the day in, day out state of our emotional, psychological, and social well being. But unfortunately, we tend to neglect our mental health and brush it aside until it snowballs into a more serious problem and even a mental health disorder in some cases.
Wow, okay. Could you please explain what is a mental health disorder and what kind of different mental health disorders are there?
So, everybody experiences mental health issues, but for some people, they might have a mental health disorder genetically, or for some people, they might develop mental health disorders over time. So, there are about 5 categories of mental health disorders, I would say. The first one is mood disorders like depression and bipolar, where you can be really happy one moment and extremely sad the next. And this can actually start interrupting your day to day life and your ability to complete simple tasks. There's also psychotic disorders like schizophrenia, where you can hallucinate. There's body disorders like anorexia and body dysmorphia, which affects the way that you look at yourself physically and ultimately affects how you psychologically perceive yourself. There are also cognitive disorders, which are issues relating to learning difficulties, Alzheimer's, and things like this. And then the final, perhaps most common area of mental health disorders is anxiety, which includes things like social anxiety and OCD, which stands for obsessive compulsive disorder. So this could be, for example, obsessively cleaning because you feel as though if you don't clean, you're being lazy or you feel like you can't be productive. So that's kind of the 5 different categories of mental health disorders that I think are out there at the moment.
Wow, that's very interesting. And I do think that I have social anxiety because whenever I go out, I tend to get very nervous and sweaty. So, for someone like me and for other people that may have other mental health disorders, what can we do to improve our mental health?
Well, depending on what you think you're struggling with, there are loads of different techniques and specific things that you can do to tackle them. So, for example, have you seen fidget toys recently on social media?
Yeah, I have.
So, fidget toys are a really good way to just manage your anxiety. So, for example, my little sister loves using fidget toys when she's speaking or when she's thinking about something that's making her feel stressed out. It's just a way of physically releasing some of the energy that you have built up inside of you because of your anxiety.
Wow, that's amazing. I think I'm going to have to buy one.
Definitely, I would recommend it. But apart from more specific things that you can do, I have some general advice. I think that we really have to take care of our physical health, meaning exercising and eating and drinking the right foods and lots of water. We also have to make sure that we're spending time with our friends and families and that we take time for ourselves. I personally love meditating as this is me time, and I also like doing self-care activities like putting on a mask and going to the salon to look and feel good. I would really recommend that you spend a lot of me time and do a self-care activity that you care about. What activity would you do?
I think I would do meditating, but I'm not too sure how to do it. Could you please explain to me how I could meditate?
Sure, there are loads of useful apps that you could use that gives you tips and techniques on how to meditate. One that I use is Balance, and it teaches me how to use breathing techniques to manage my stress. For example, by breathing in for 4 seconds, holding my breath for 7 seconds, and breathing out for 8 seconds, which is called the 4-7-8 technique. You should definitely try that.
Amazing. I will definitely try that. Thank you.
Hey, Haruka, I have a question for you. Do you ever meditate?
Only occasionally. I know it's very good for your mental health, but I forget all the time. Do you?
I do, but not in the most traditional or usual way. Like I don't sit in silence very often. I do that too sometimes, but I'll meditate either by going through a guided meditation, like a voice, someone telling me, to relax your shoulders and your focus on your breathing, etc. Or I meditate at other times, like when I'm doing the dishes. I just focus on just the act of the water going over my hands or cleaning the dishes. And, that's a form of meditation to me.
Do you feel much better after that?
I feel calmer. I certainly feel more relaxed. Yeah, I feel like when I do that, my mind usually is going very fast, and it's a good way to kind of slow it down and bring it back to a more tolerable way of thinking.
Is meditation similar to zoning out?
I guess, but to me, zoning out is like letting your mind wander, whereas meditation, you're bringing it to a single focal point.
I see. Um, Actually, I remember that I have used this app called Undo. It's a very simple, like 3 minutes or whatever minutes you choose, and it starts with a bamboo sound, and I like it, and I feel, yeah, much calmer after that meditation.
Yeah, I have the same app. That is the one time I will do a kind of silent meditation. I'll use that app because it, like you said, there's this bamboo sound at the beginning and a kind of gong at the end, but it's just silent in between. So, other than meditation, what else do you do when you get stressed out?
Recently, I do try to do deeper breathing, inhale and exhale, and also looking at the window, mountains, skies, feeling the breeze. They are all very calming to me. How about you?
If I get stressed out or if I'm like unhappy, I try to think about other people. Like, what could I do for someone else to make them happy? Like, how could I surprise someone? Something like that.
That's very nice of you.
Yeah, I guess. It helps me because if I don't do that, I will probably focus too much on whatever's making me unhappy or stressed out. But if I put my attention on someone else, that makes me happy.
I love that way of thinking. I will try that. I know you love Zen, the concept of Zen. When did you start learning it?
I started learning about Zen philosophy when I was in college.
In college?
Yeah, Zen's not really a religion, but I've studied it in a religion class. It comes from Buddhism originally.
Was it a Japanese teacher?
No, but it was an Asian studies teacher, so he was an expert in Asian religions.
And what was the concept of Zen by that teacher?
Well, it's difficult to explain, but Zen is basically about appreciating the little moments in life and being in the present moment. A lot of times we think about the future or we spend a lot of time thinking about the past. Zen is mostly about trying to be in the right now.
Sounds like mindfulness.
It's very close to that. Mindfulness is discussed a lot in Zen philosophy.
So, is there a way to be good at Zen, or what I can do to?
I think I understand your question. There is no good or bad about it. It's really like, do you like taking a walk in nature sometime?
I love it.
Yeah, me too. And I think that in essence is Zen, is just appreciating the beauty in nature or the wind on your face or, the sound of the birds in the trees. It sounds a little corny, but appreciating that moment in time, that's basically Zen.
So if I'm enjoying this conversation right now, that means I am in Zen?
Sure. In essence, if you're in this moment as we speak, that's a form of Zen appreciation.
Is that possible that I would be in Zen all the time if I'm able to enjoy every moment of my life?
That's a great question. I think it's sort of impossible to constantly be present. It's a good goal to aim for, but it's sort of like an unattainable goal, like a goal that you can't ever get to because your mind is at some point going to think about tomorrow or remember something from the past.
How much of a day do you think you are in the Zen moment?
I've never calculated it like that. I don't know. Because I catch myself all the time thinking too much about the future or reliving a memory for too long. And then when I catch myself, I bring my focus back to what I'm doing at the present moment.
Sometimes I focus so much and I feel like I'm in the zone, but it's different from Zen.
Well, I don't really want to define it because that's the paradox or the kind of confusing thing about Zen. The more and more you try to define it, really the further away you get from it. It's not something that there are like rules that are written down and you follow these rules. It's really more about just being alive and acknowledging that, appreciating that.
Well, maybe we can both go to the Zen garden and see how it works.
That's good. I would love to talk to like a Zen monk or something.
Mark, you have a podcast, right?
Yes, I do.
What's your podcast about?
It's called Zen Sandwich, but it's sort of about Zen, but I cast the net pretty wide, so I talk about a lot of different topics.
Like what?
Well, I've had guests on there from MMA fighters, if you know what an MMA fighter is, mixed martial arts fighters, to artists and musicians. I've had a famous photographer, pretty much any kind of career field you can imagine.
How many episodes have you done so far?
Well, I've done about 46 or 47 so far.
Is it hard work to produce one?
It's a lot more work than I thought. When I started the project of doing a podcast, I thought that it was going to be turning on a microphone and just recording people talking and that'd be it. But there is so much more to it, from sound editing, video editing if I record the video of an interview, to marketing. There's a lot more to it than I thought.
How long have you been doing it?
I've been doing it for about 7 months now.
7 months. All right. And what made you think, starting a podcast?
Well, originally I had a website that was a kind of blog. I wrote articles, or I would get some people I knew to write articles for it. And from that, I thought, well, I would rather record a conversation than write an article. And I enjoy listening to podcasts, so I thought, why not? So the blog turned into the podcast.
So, do you love it?
Yes. I mean, it's one of the most enjoyable things I've ever done as a personal project. Although, like I said before, it involves so much extra work. I don't love everything about it. I don't love marketing it, but I do love the creation part of it.
Before becoming a podcaster, what were you doing?
Well, I used to be a lawyer, and I also used to teach at a university.
It's a multi-talented personality.
Well, I guess I didn't love those things as much as I do podcasting.
What other jobs have you done?
I've had lots of jobs over the years. I've worked in the restaurant business. I've worked for a plant nursery. I've worked at a hotel before. But my main career type jobs were being a lawyer or being a teacher. And I'm trying to turn podcasting into hopefully my final career.
So the experience as lawyer and teacher helping podcast?
Actually, yes. Being a teacher, because my podcast has a sort of education element to it. I teach people about Zen. So I certainly use some of my previous teaching skills in terms of organizing my thoughts into what I'm going to say as a tool for how I create a podcast episode.
If I wanted to start a podcasting, what advice would you give me?
To just do it. I think the starting part is the hardest for a number of reasons. One, people usually hate the sound of their own voice when they hear it recorded because it doesn't sound the same to them as it does in their head when they speak. Hearing your recorded voice, it always sounds funny to people. So you have to get used to that part. And it's a little nerve-wracking at first. You're a little nervous the first time you try it. But eventually, you get over all that stuff.
Do you interview people?
I do almost 50-50. Like half the time I interview someone, and the other half of the time it's just me. I just do a solo podcast.
For solo episode, how many hours would you spend as a preparation?
Well, I mean, from start to finish, it's maybe 10 hours on an episode. Because then I'll prepare for an hour. Recording it takes not just the amount of time of the episode, but I might have to record several times or re-record. Then I have to edit it. And then, of course, I've got to do the marketing. So, I'm just guessing, but maybe about 10 hours for a single episode.
Okay, here's another thing. It's a little bit impolite. What about looking at other people's monitor over their shoulder? Because you just mentioned the BTS. One thing I have to admit is because I don't have my phone out and I am looking around, I have a tendency to want to check and see what's on everybody's phone, and it's total intrusion. It's creepy in a way, but it's also because in Asia I'm a little bit taller than the average person, so I'm looking down and I can see everybody's monitor.
Yeah.
And do you ever find yourself doing that too?
I do, yeah. But like you, I think it's impolite.
Right, so you got to pull away. I know I shouldn't do it.
But do you know the worst thing with phones these days? The worst thing, from my point of view, is the amount of pictures that people take of themselves everywhere, on the BTS, on the subway, eating. I've been to S21 in Cambodia, where those poor people were slaughtered, basically. And there are people in front of pictures of these people who were killed, and they are just literally taking selfies of themselves. This world isn't about you.
Yeah.
It's sometimes just stop and look and listen.
Yeah, the selfie thing, I did a little bit. Sometimes I would do it almost like it's sending a postcard.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, look, I'm here. But I have to admit, I don't really like doing it. Yeah.
And I take the shot again. I use selfies in a group because I think they're fun. It's actually quite fun to see one person in the front and the rest at the back.
Yes.
And it usually means I can get further back in the photograph. So that's always a good thing.
Oh, that's true. So, but that's good that you admit you do some selfies.
Yeah, with groups. And, if I'm taking a group in the class, I'll get one of them to take the photograph.
Yeah. What about the mild pet peeve of mine? Not a pet peeve, but people taking photos of their food. I don't know why it's a thing.
Why? Eat it.
Yeah, exactly. Enjoy it. Enjoy the memory. It's interesting you said that about Cambodia. A group of women once said something that was really like just a spear in the heart, really made me think. I was in Cambodia. This was years ago, and I was at Angkor, at Batong Bayong, or I can't say it right, but where they have the beautiful face sculptures. And I'm like, oh, I gotta get a photo. And so there's a woman just sitting there, relaxed. She was maybe French or something. She was European, and she's like, oh, you want me to take your photo? And I go, yeah. So then she takes it. She takes my photo. This is before like cell phone cameras. And then I'm like, okay, I have to reciprocate. I go, oh, would you like me to take a photo of you? She's like, no. I'm like, you don't have a camera? She goes, no. And she just points at her head, and she taps her head like this, and she goes, it's all up here.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. Like
That's
she was
amazing.
really kind of like, politely saying like, I'm never going to, and I've never forgotten how those things look.
Yeah.
I've never forgotten her sitting on the rock when she said that. So wise advice, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Now, actually, you are in photography. Do you think that actually taking you have a photography business.
Yes.
Do you think that actually taking so many photographs lessens the value of the art of photography and really appreciating a good picture?
Yes, I think it does. And I think that a lot of the apps and the things that you can use these days to improve photographs take away the real skill of the photographer, using the light, using the lines, using what's in the photograph to make a really good shot. I think people miss that these days.
Yeah, that is true. Anyway, and so today, no using your phone.
No, I did hear it go bing bing.
So, Rachel, did you grow up in New Zealand?
Yes, I did.
Nice. So I grew up in the States, and I thought we would talk about how life is so much different for teens today than it was for our generation.
Okay, I think we can do that.
So obviously the first thing is that when we were young, we didn't have like smartphones and things like that. We didn't have the internet,
We didn't
actually.
have internet, we didn't have email.
Yeah. So I remember if you wanted to meet a friend, you would have to plan it way in advance.
Yes.
You would have to wait by the phone. Remember that, waiting by the phone? You couldn't go outside because if you were waiting for the call, you had to wait at your house until you got the call. And
We
then,
didn't even have an answering machine. at my
wow,
house.
my
Call
gosh.
waiting. We
That's
used to-
really old school.
We used to have to wait by the phone.
Yeah.
Actually, I used to spend every afternoon after school on the phone with my friends.
Uh-huh.
After we got home from school, we would call each other and discuss the day's events, I suppose.
Yeah, you had so much to share.
Mm.
That's true. I think,
So my teens these days, they come home from school, they get on their phone and they text all their friends.
right. And they do it all day. Like it's constant,
Yeah.
constant chatter. I think maybe that's why I'm not so much into texting. It's just too much work, you know? Like I like to build up the mystery of not knowing what somebody did for a while.
Yeah, but I was thinking about it recently, and I think it was similar because we used to telephone a lot, but then we did have to wait a long time before finding the news.
True. Yeah, I read once about how a lot of the movie plots from like the 60s, 70s, and 80s wouldn't work today because of cell phones.
Yes,
Because a lot of the storyline,
they're about missed communications.
right,
and,
right, yeah.
Yes, and somebody arrived and somebody else didn't.
So another one I think that's really obvious is bottled water. So when I grew up, there was no such thing as bottled water. Like you had to get water from a faucet, right?
Yes, from
Like-
a tap.
Yeah, and I think I remember when they first started coming out with bottled water. I think I was about 14 or 15.
It was a bit later in New Zealand, I think.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So that was crazy. But, I mean, do you remember what it was like when people were first drinking bottled water? How strange it seemed at the time? Everyone was like, why don't you get it from the
water's
tap?
The water's very clean in New Zealand, so the tap water is clean, so there was really no reason. So,
Yeah, like if you come from a temperate climate, it was never a problem, right? Because I'm from a temperate climate as well. And so the water doesn't really have problems with bacteria or things like that. So it's always clean. It used to be clean. So in New Zealand, it's probably still clean.
the rivers used to be clean, but they're not so clean now.
Oh,
There's-
really?
yeah.
Even
There's
in New
been some
Zealand?
problems, yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, shocking.
It's a bit sad.
Yeah. So how about other things that we used to do when we were kids? Like one thing is, I think compared to kids today, is we used to spend a lot of time outside.
Yes.
Actually, like our parents would not allow you to stay inside. You had to be
go
out.
outside.
You had to go
yeah.
outside,
It's
right?
the opposite today. They
Yeah.
make them stay inside and won't let them go outside.
Why is that? What's the rationale for why they should stay inside?
Safety.
Safety? Yeah.
We
But-
didn't used to hear about all of the kidnappings and abuse in the media, so
Right.
people weren't afraid of it. So
Yeah. And the crazy thing is,
we
I
hear
think
about it now.
it's actually safer now, right? They
I
say
think,
it's
yeah, it's safer now.
even in the States where they hear about this. I think statistics say that it's actually safer than it was before.
Yes,
But the perception is there.
although that could be because the children are all inside.
That's true. Yeah.
That's a difficult one to figure out. But I don't think it's that unsafe to play outside. I think it's better for kids socially, for their bodies, for their development to play outside if they can.
I agree. I totally agree. Like kids definitely should be outside, and kids should be bored. I think that's one of the things that kids miss out on is boredom.
They're never bored now. They've always got a screen to look at.
Right. So, obviously when we were young, you had nothing to do. So you had to go outside and find
Climb
something.
a tree.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's so fun.
I thought of something.
Mm-hmm.
We used to have video watching parties.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
only one person in 10 had a video machine.
Right.
So we would all go to this video store together and argue over which videos to watch and choose some horror movies and some comedies, and then go to one person's house and all watch them all together.
I do remember that. Yeah,
no,
it was a big
no
thing.
Netflix binging, but yeah,
Yeah.
having a video party at someone's house was a big deal.
And I think movies were a much bigger deal back then because we didn't have screen time. There was no such thing as screen time. You had your TV, but that was not the same thing. Your parents wouldn't let you watch that much TV anyway. And so a movie was a big deal.
It was more of a big deal. You didn't just watch it on Netflix when you were bored.
Yeah, but a kid these days, it's just, they're on their screen all the time.
Yeah.
It's just more digital pixels. Yeah, different times. Like, did your kids work when they were in school? How did you feel about your kids when they were in high school?
My kids had to work for the pocket money. So they would have chores to do and they would get pocket money. They would help with the washing up, sweeping, cleaning, whatever. They always had to earn their pocket money, which
So
they thought was really hard.
So did you ever withhold their wages?
Yeah.
You did, really?
Yeah.
You'd be like, no, you didn't do your chores, you don't get the
you're not
money?
having it, yeah.
Really? How often would you have to do that?
More so in the beginning, once they get the idea, if you don't work for your money, you don't get your money. And that's a life lesson, isn't it? If you
That
don't do
is
your work,
great, because I
you don't
think
get money.
I think a lot of people just assume, even me, like I've never had children, but the parents just spoil the kids, and they just they don't want to have the hassle, they don't want to have the fight, they just give them the money.
But you look at the difference between the Western kids and the kids out here. You can go on a bus trip with the kids out here. You can go on a 6-hour bus trip. You don't hear a peep out of that kid. They're sat there, the mum's asleep, maybe the kid's asleep as well. If you put Western kids on a bus for 6 hours, you'd have to have a PlayStation or a tablet or something. They'd be crying. You'd have to feed them things. It's a totally different way of acting.
Yeah.
And I missed that. When I came to Asia, I noticed that the kids were happier with less, much less than we have. And it wasn't until I spent the year in Asia and then I went to Australia, landed in Sydney, noticed one thing, that the people were that much bigger, but also the kids were just so spoiled, and the parents were just giving in to them.
So you think that maybe we need to rectify that situation, that we should stop spoiling kids,
Yeah, I do.
take away the PlayStation,
Yeah.
just stick them outside, yeah.
You can get strollers today with a place where you can put the kid's tablet.
Yeah, it's
Why
crazy.
can't the kid just look at the world?
Yeah. It's so funny you mentioned that, because before we were talking about potential business ideas, and I have an idea called Camp Boredom. So what happens?
Boredom is good.
Yeah, what happens at Camp Boredom is you send your kid to Camp Boredom. It's like just a camp in the woods or on a farm, and the kids come and they go, "What do we do?" And I go, "I don't know, nothing. Go outside. Just find something to do."
No
Because-
Wi-Fi.
Yeah, because I grew up no Wi-Fi, no nothing. I grew up on a farm, and I'm really blessed. I had no idea how blessed I was at the time, but I grew up. I spent all my time at my grandfather's farm, and we had nothing to do. I mean, nothing. But we had this farm, so we had everything to do. So the rule was you had to be up for breakfast at 7, and then once you finished breakfast, you had to be out of the house. Like, you could not be in the house. It was almost forbidden to be in the house unless it's like raining outside. And you would be outside from sun up to sundown.
Yeah, climbing fences, climbing trees,
Having
sitting on
the-
haystacks.
Right, having the best time of your life.
Yeah.
And your imagination is going, and you just, the little things that you would do. Oh, we're going to build a tree for it. Oh, we're going to do this. Oh, we're going to do that.
We're going to stop the river from flowing.
Right. So that's my idea, I think, Camp Boredom. So maybe we have to,
I think boredom is good for kids.
yeah. How so?
Because, as you say, if they're always entertained and always fed, then they don't get to learn how to entertain themselves.
Yeah.
If you sit them in a car with nothing for 6 hours,
Right.
get to look out the window.
There was a great thing recently where Jerry Seinfeld, the comedian, he has a bit where he talks about how his mother would take him to the bank when he was like a kid, and like a bank or a department store was the ultimate space of boredom. Like, there's nothing you can do. Like, you're so bored you just want to like flop down on the floor type of thing. But you're right. Like, I don't know if kids have that anymore.
No, they don't.
where they have like they hit that wall where there's nothing for them to do.
No.
You know. So do you think that maybe we should limit the devices, the smartphones, all that kids use?
I do think you should, but I think it's too late now. I think, you know, we've passed the point where you can get Wi-Fi, internet. You know, if we took all that off the kids now, you know, what would they do? They'd be bored.
But you can just never give it to them, right?
Yeah, in the first place.
Maybe that's impossible.
It's impossible.
Okay, cool. So, Ruofei, you are from China, and in America, Chinese students have a reputation of being very hardworking. Is that true?
Yes, exactly. In my high school, in one class we have around 70 students in one class, and everybody wants to be the top students. So everybody works so hard, and I'd say my high school was kind of like a prison. You have to go to school every day from 6:35 a.m. to 9:40 p.m.
Really? That long?
Yes.
That's over 12 hours. That's like 13, 14 hours a day.
Yes, exactly.
Whoa. How did you feel as a student studying that much?
Sleepy.
I bet.
Every day I'm so sleepy.
I can imagine. Do you think it was productive studying that much?
I think their purpose just let us to stay as much time as we can in the school, and we cannot get distracted by other stuff. So we always stay at school and we always focus on our studying. And we kind of cannot know anything about the outside of the wall from school.
That's amazing. So, for such a long day, can you talk about the daily schedule? What was your schedule like every day?
From 6:50 we start to have class from 6:50 until maybe 11:45. Yeah, we have 45 minutes class and then 10 minutes break. And we also have 30 minutes we have to do exercise on the playground. And in the afternoon is the same routine. And then we went to dinner around 6 to 7. And from 7 to 9:40, we have to do our homework.
Oh, so you study at school. So it's not homework, it's schoolwork. You don't actually go home, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. So how many classes would you have every day?
Classes, 8 classes.
Okay. And what were the subjects?
We separate the subjects. If you learn more mathematics, we learn mathematics, English, and Chinese, and physics, chemistry, and biology.
That's very rigorous. Did you enjoy all the subjects?
Yeah, I love physics and biology and chemistry.
And now you are training to be a doctor.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Did you know you wanted to be a doctor when you were in high school?
I kind of know because my father is a doctor.
Okay.
And he was kind of forcing me to study medicine.
Oh, nice. So we have a phrase in English. We say, follow in your father's footsteps.
Uh-huh.
So you definitely are following in your father's
Yeah.
footsteps. Oh, that's great. Is your mother a doctor?
My mother is a businesswoman now.
Okay. Oh, great. So you had all these courses. Now, in America, there's a big controversy about tests, that kids take too many tests. It's too test-driven. What about in China? Do you have a lot of tests?
Yeah, I have tests every month, and they will make a list of every single person, how much score you got in this test.
So they rank everybody to see.
Yes.
That's very competitive.
Yeah, I think that's kind of bad for our emotion.
Yeah, so it creates a lot of stress.
Yeah. We have 2,000 students in one grade.
That is crazy. And so you can be number 2,000, you can be the lowest student?
Yes.
And they put that out there?
Yes.
Really? Oh my, they can never do that in America.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my gosh. Do you think that's a good idea?
Depends on the person.
Right, yeah. Wow. So you have a lot of pressure. Did you feel pressure from your parents, from your peers, from your teachers?
Yeah.
Like, who gave you the most pressure?
Myself.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. I don't want to be lazy. I don't want to be worse. So I have to always work hard to chasing other people. Everybody wants to be the best. So everybody worked really, really hard. Even we have breaking time, they don't break at all.
Seriously?
Yes.
What do they do during the break?
They do questions.
Wow. They quiz each other. The students quiz each other, or they just do homework?
They do their homework and they find out what problem they've had and they solve the problem with teachers or other students. They just starting all day. They can do that.
That's amazing. And kids do this like 14, 15 hours a day.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really good for China.
And we don't have that much summer vacation and winter vacation. In winter vacation, we have 2 weeks because of the Chinese New Year. It's about 2 week stuff. So we have 2 weeks in winter vacation and 1 week summer vacation only.
Is that enough?
Of course not. And even we have vacation, the teacher would give us a lot of homework to do.
That is very impressive.
This is very not good experience.
Wow. Well, actually, okay, we'll talk about that in the next interview. I think that's a very interesting point. So I'm here with Jerry, and she's Thai, and we are in Bangkok, and we are going to talk about fashion. So, Jerry, Bangkok is a very, very fashion-conscious city.
Yes, absolutely.
Shopping is huge here. So let's talk about prices. So first, we'll talk about jeans. You are wearing jeans today. So how much are an expensive pair of jeans in Bangkok?
Well, that's funny that you asked because the price range for clothes here is quite wide. So you can go from 200 baht, Thai baht for a pair of jeans up to 4,000 Thai baht for a pair of jeans in like one of the top brands.
Wow. And so just so people know, 200 baht would be, in U.S. dollars, that's about $6. And 4,000 baht would be about $130.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's quite a difference there. Yeah. But I would say that generally it will be in the range of 500 to 2,000 Thai baht.
Okay. 500 to 2,000. That's still pretty a wide gap.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So those are jeans. What about, for women, a blouse?
A blouse, I would say, for like a nice quality one, like 500 Thai baht.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah,
$15
that's right. Yeah.
about? Okay. What's the most you would pay for a blouse?
No more than 1,000 Thai baht.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about the cheapest?
The cheapest, like 300 Thai baht. Like if you start going lower than 300 Thai baht, then you have to accept that you might get to wear it not more than 3 times.
Okay.
So that's the price you pay.
Nice. All right. So what about shoes?
Shoes, it also depends on where you go. So Chatuchak Market is known for affordable clothes. So the shoes there would be from 200 Thai baht to 500 Thai baht. But if you visit the more well-known stores in the department stores, then they can be from 500 Thai baht to 1,000 Thai baht.
Okay. That's interesting. So you mentioned Jatujak Market. Can you kind of talk about Jatujak Market?
Yes, so this is one of the main activities for tourists to do when they visit Bangkok. It's a weekend market, so it's only open on Saturdays and Sundays. It's quite crowded, but it's definitely something you should do. There's a lot of souvenir stores, a lot of local shops, and yeah, a place to shop for clothes. And it's not just for tourists. You also see a lot of Thais go there because all the stores there are reasonably priced, and they're quite trendy. Yeah, they have like different styles, stores that you won't find anywhere else.
Right. Oh, yeah. I've been there a couple times. It's massive. It's really,
it's
really
massive.
big.
It takes about half a day to do
get
the
through it?
entire thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's easy to get lost,
Minimum,
right? Like if you
yeah.
go inside, it's like you kind of don't know where you are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which I guess it's also the fun part of it. It's like an adventure in itself, right?
Right. Exactly. Okay. Cool. Thanks, Jerry.
You're welcome.
Let's see, how is that on time? Oh, that's a short one. Hang on, actually, I'm going to add a little bit more. Okay, so what about things like belts or, like accessories?
I would recommend going to Platinum Mall. This mall is located near Siam BTS station, and it's known for its accessories that are like reasonably priced. So at Platinum Mall, accessories can be from 100 Thai baht to not more than 1,000 Thai baht, but usually in the range of 100 to 500 Thai baht.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but there's a whole floor, like 2 floors that's dedicated to accessories. So you can find necklaces, sunglasses, rings, earrings, about 10 shops for each category, yes.
Oh, that's fantastic. So Bangkok's quite interesting because it has so many different ways. You can buy things on the street.
Yes.
You can buy things at the markets. You can buy things at the nice air-conditioned malls.
Yes.
Yeah. What about online? Do you Thai shop online very much?
Yeah, online shops are becoming more and more popular now because it's quite convenient. You just get it delivered to you. Yeah, there's a lot of more fashion brands that are online on Instagram, for example. Yeah, so it's becoming a thing.
Oh, cool. All right, thanks, Jerry.
You're welcome.
Cool. And then another famous thing about Bangkok is the motorcycle taxis, which really freak a lot of the tourists out.
I'm sure.
Like they're
I'm sure.
afraid to get on one. Can you explain the motorcycle taxis, which are incredibly common?
Absolutely. So, yeah, it can get it's quite scary, but it's probably the fastest and most cost-effective way to get around Bangkok, especially during the rush hour. There's like a lot of motorbike taxis in Bangkok, and there are different stations, so you can get them at right below the SkyTrain station mostly. And yeah, they know the streets very well. They know the fastest routes to get to your destination. And once you get familiar with it, it's actually not too bad as long as you ask for a helmet. I always think that is, because it does get quite scary on the main roads with like a lot of...
women a lot of times sit in a very dangerous position because of their skirt. They'll sit sideways. They don't sit with both legs with one leg on each side of the motorcycle, which I always find incredibly dangerous.
Yeah.
Do you ever sit that way?
I have to admit, most of the time I sit that way, and it's quite, like, you don't realize it yourself, but when people see it, they're quite fascinated by it, like how we can balance ourselves, and then the motorbike is, like, swerving its way around.
Yeah, right, exactly. Another thing about maybe just explaining about the motorcycle taxis is, so Bangkok has really long streets. It's not a grid system. It's kind of like the roots of a tree, like the roads will just go forever in one direction.
Yes.
So basically people take the main lines, like the subway or overhead train, to their stop, and then they take the motorcycle taxi to their home, correct?
Yes, correct. That's the most common way, to do it.
And in the mornings and in the evenings, it's amazing because it's like this fleet of motorcycle. Like the whole street is just humming with motorcycles.
And then you realize how popular they are when you're standing at the station and there's no motorbikes left because, they're all being... used.
So, like where you live, do you see the same motorcycle taxis every day?
Yes.
Do you know them by name?
Yes. So, like, even the one in front of where I work, they're like familiar face. They know where I live, and
Yeah.
they just take me home every day.
Oh my gosh, that's so
Yeah.
awesome. So what about new things like Uber and Grab?
So it's causing quite a bit of tension in Bangkok. As expected, the motorcycle taxis and the normal taxis are not so happy about this. But yeah, I think with the election coming up, a lot of parties are trying to regulate it a little better, because currently the main problem is that the Ubers and the Grab drivers are not legal to have passengers. They don't have the license. So that's the main issue why the motorbike taxis and the normal taxi drivers are quite fed up about.
Wow. Well, one thing's for sure, it's very easy to get around this city.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so I'm here with Jerry, and we are in Bangkok, Thailand, and she's Thai. And I thought we would talk about the interesting transportation systems of Bangkok.
Yes, very interesting.
Yeah, Bangkok has so many ways to get around. So the most common, of course, is the BTS,
Right.
which is the over-rail train, right? And then there's the MRT. Okay, can you talk about them?
Yeah, so these two are the new forms of transportation in Thailand. Well, not so new. I think about 10 years now we've been having them. But they're probably the most common way to travel into the city. The SkyTrain station is now expanding quite fast, so it's going to like other parts that are outside of Bangkok for the outer cities. From people from the outer city to travel into the main business district areas. And the price range from 35 baht to like 100 baht, depending on how many stops you have to take. But it's becoming more and more popular, and so the rush hour it gets quite hectic. I think it can be regulated a little bit better, but I think they're working on that.
Yeah, I work in Tokyo and Bangkok both, and when I first came here, the trains were empty, the BTS, and now
right.
they're like Tokyo.
Yes.
They're on the same level of packedness.
Right,
It's
yes,
crazy.
yes.
Okay, so then how about the world famous Thai taxis and tuk-tuks?
Okay, yes, for sure. So I'll start with the tuk-tuks. The tuk-tuks are probably the most interesting way to get around town. You see them a lot in Bangkok because they attract tourists. So you can get them, they're usually, the thing to be careful is that there's not really a fixed price. So you can get a little bit
Scammed.
Yeah. But so I would recommend just asking the locals, like how much would it cost, like to get here to there, so you know like a little bit about the price range. But if you're here in Thailand for the first time, it's definitely the way to travel around. You get the wind in your face, and it's really nice. And then the taxi meters are also, there's more and more every day. And it's like. Any other country, I guess, it's air conditioned, and then the meter starts from 35 Thai baht.
It's true. It is like any other country, but I would say they're very unique in their colors.
Oh,
so
right. Yes,
they have
yes,
the
yes.
very beautiful Technicolor that you only see in Thailand. Yeah.
So it goes from pink, green, bright yellow, and they're all very bright.
And orange,
so,
correct,
yes,
right?
Yes,
Yeah. They look so beautiful, actually.
Yeah.
Actually, going back to the tuk-tuks, one thing that's I think is interesting is obviously they're used for tourists, but also local Thais I see use them kind of to transport a lot of bags and stuff. So like if they need to move a bunch of stuff, like
Yes.
bags, or they need like, I don't know, supplies for a restaurant or something like that, you'll see
Right.
tuk-tuks moving things
absolutely.
around.
Yes. And there's like different tuk-tuk sizes. So some of them are more for like transportation, as you mentioned, and then we have more of like the bigger. Similar to tuk-tuks, they're called songtaos, which you see in like the small little streets in certain neighborhoods that people need to get to the main road.
Okay, now can you describe what a songtao looks like?
Yes, absolutely. It's like a truck, but with a big open area in the back for people to hold on to the rails. So, I'm not sure if you can imagine the picture, but in a tuk-tuk, you get to sit. It fits about 3 people max. But songtao, the back, the open air area fits about 20 people.
So I'm here with Angela, and in a previous interview we were talking about kids and technology and devices, and how these days often people look at their device when they're with another person. How do you feel about that? Like if you're eating with somebody, you're at dinner, is it okay to check your phone?
We have a rule in our house: no phones at the table.
Very
Absolutely
nice.
no phones. Because, you see people, they meet in restaurants, they sit around a table, the food comes, but everybody's looking into their phone and engaging with whatever they're doing on their phone and not talking to the people who have met them. And you see people walking on the subway, the street, head in their phone. It's,
It is crazy.
it's really sad.
And if you think about it, we used to have, manners, things you couldn't do. For example, no elbows on the table, no hats inside the house. I mean, it sounds silly, but I remember those rules as a kid. Like,
Yes.
the one that was really hard was the no elbows on the table. Yeah, so it's interesting that we don't have new rules. Like, we should reinvent them. Like, you can't have your phone on during the plane when it takes off. So your rule is a really good idea.
Yeah, no phones at the table.
So you're an English teacher. What do you think about phones in the classroom?
If they're on a break, I always call it their text break, because when I'm teaching English out here, I find that people have got their phone to their hand and maybe they're Googling a word or something. So it's not too much of a distraction. But when you stop them for a break, as soon as you say, let's have a break now, they're all out with their phones and they're sitting individually looking at their phones.
And it's silence. I know what you mean.
it's
Like,
silence.
I'll teach, and it used to be you would say, okay, take a break, and it would be really loud. They would start talking with each other. And these days, it's just silence. They just go and they do that motion of just flicking with their finger as they're scrolling down. And I know I just sound like, some old guy. Hey, get off my lawn. And I have the same problem. I want to check my phone all the time, but I have to admit, it's strange, I think.
Yes. And now you needn't even check your phone. You can just look at your Apple Watch or your watch on your wrist. It's going to tell you if your phone needs your attention.
Well, it used to be where I would say things like, as a teacher, you're teaching, and you can see if a student's looking down at their phone.
Yes.
And I would say, hey, don't check your phone. But now these days, kids actually call me on it. They're like, oh, I'm looking up a word, or oh, I'm checking something. And they literally are checking something. And the kids are good at using their phone as a learning tool.
Yes, I think that's fine.
So it's a gray area
It's a
these
gray
days.
area,
Yeah. So when you're with somebody, you never pop out your phone.
I would admit that I would be guilty of checking my phone in my bag, but I would never get it out and go on Facebook or Instagram and start Instagramming. I would just look at it and put it away.
Yeah. There's other things I've done. I mean, it could be because I'm getting older, but for example, I try not to listen to my iPod so much anymore, or my phone, radio, music, whatever. I actually just try to listen. I notice that when I'm always listening to everything, I kind of tune the world out, and I might miss things.
You will miss things, and you see people. I've been quite tempted some days to put my earphones in and walk to the BTS, but actually I think no, you'd miss the traffic noise, you'd miss the tuk-tuks, you'd miss a dimension of the world that's happening around you, and then you get on the BTS and everybody in the carriage is head down, in the same position, on their phones.
Yeah. It is, and actually I don't do it just for that reason, because I notice that I'm missing out. It's so tempting, but I might see something. So Anthony, we're talking about Bitcoin. Now, you've invested in Bitcoin before?
Yeah, a bit.
Do you still invest a lot now?
I haven't recently.
Okay, so why did you stop?
I stopped because I was getting a little anxious about seeing my portfolio swing up and down by like $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 in a day, and I kind of decided that I would take out the money that I invested in it and just let my profits ride, basically.
Right. So basically, originally then, you were using Bitcoin for speculative purposes, right? Not to actually buy things. You weren't using it as a means to actually make transactions.
That is correct. I've only bought one thing with Bitcoin, and that was it's called a hardware wallet, which is basically, it looks like a USB stick, but it's a way to secure your funds.
Do you think that in the future we will have people using Bitcoins more, like it's going to become a viable alternative to actually for commerce to pay for things?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think Bitcoin will be what we all use, but it's definitely, in my opinion, it's definitely the archetype for what is
It's
coming.
the pioneer.
Yes,
yeah.
the pioneering technology. There's going to be something that is similar to Bitcoin that we use as a digital payment system.
Yeah. So a lot of people are freaked out about Bitcoin. What are some reasons people are skeptical against it?
That's a good question. Well, one question that I've been asked before is who controls it? Everyone always wants to know who's in charge, right? Who's the CEO?
Yeah.
Right? Because we're so conditioned to this kind of system. But that is the thing. And it's kind of scary for some people, but there is no control over it. It's a program at the end of the day, and there's no governing body. There's no government organization that really has this say. I mean, specific governments will try to regulate the markets to a certain extent, but at the end of the day, the power is in the hands of the people that use it, really. And as long as people use it, there will be some kind of value to it. Just as long as we use paper money, there's value to it. As long as it's exchanged, right?
Right, and some people have made some good points. For example, nobody foresaw the use of e-commerce or smartphones or social media, but these things adopted and ramped up quickly.
Yes.
So do you think this could happen with these crypto technologies? Is that the right way to say it? Crypto technologies?
Cryptocurrencies.
Cryptocurrencies.
Or blockchain technologies.
Blockchain technology, okay.
I think it's very rapid right now. It's kind of becoming a household word. Whereas when I first got into it, if I talked to someone about Bitcoin, they would look at me like I was crazy. They would look at me like I had a hole in my face or something.
Right.
But now it's people know, like even older people who aren't really so in touch with technology know what it is or have at least heard about it. But I think the biggest hurdle to mass adoption is that as it stands now, it takes a lot of knowledge and a lot of know-how in order to safely, because the reason why I say safely is because if you're dealing with Bitcoin, you're in charge of securing your funds. So, if someone, hacks into your funds or something, then it's your fault. You don't have anyone to blame. Whereas if you have your money in a bank,
you can't call customer service.
Exactly, you can't call customer service. So there's a big hurdle as far as the knowledge you need to safely and effectively maneuver in that space. So I think until some second party or third party comes about and makes it more user friendly, I don't really think it's gonna be ready to really take over until that happens, because either more people need to be educated and know how to use it and how to purchase it, how to store it, etc., or there needs to be some huge company that's going to say, look, we'll manage it for you. You just need this app or something. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, the crossover. They always say, be careful what you wish for. You might just get it.
Yeah.
And if Bitcoin or some cryptocurrency becomes the primary source of transactions, I think a lot of the ills and the dodgy stuff we have with banks will seep into it. It will be interesting if they could keep it out.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. But I think one thing that's interesting about the currencies is that I think a lot of old people will go for it. I think a lot of old people usually are hesitant about technology and change, but the thing that they have a lot of money that they're sitting on, usually older people, and they also don't trust the government. They've been around a long time. And so I think these crypto currencies are going to be very attractive to a lot of tech unsavvy people. What do you think about that?
I think you have a point. I think that's, they'll probably more so than young people have money to invest. But I think that's, like I said before, it's just there's such a, I've spent so many hours reading about these kind of technologies and just really obsessing over it. and I still feel like there's so much I don't know.
Right.
So,
Well, I guess we all got to learn.
yeah. All right.
Okay, so Anthony, I thought we would talk about Bitcoin.
Okay.
So, you are kind of the expert about Bitcoin.
I wouldn't say I'm an expert. I just maybe a hobbyist.
So, how
Bitcoin
long have you been
hobbyist.
involved with Bitcoin?
Probably I first heard about Bitcoin in probably 2012, and I'm really kicking myself that I didn't buy some then because it was about $20. But
$20 per Bitcoin.
Yeah, per Bitcoin. It was about
Okay.
$20.
So how much is it worth now?
Right now it's about 8,500 somewhere.
You've got
around
to
there.
be kidding me.
No, I wish I was. But
Wow.
I got into it as a hobbyist around 2014, a little before I moved abroad, and I got into what is known as mining. So to briefly explain what that is miners, people who call themselves miners, they buy special computers, which are called ASICs, and that stands for Application Specific Integrated Circuit. And the application specific part means that the chips that you're using in that computer can only be used for one specific purpose, and that purpose is to solve cryptographic problems, thus creating Bitcoin. So that's what I was doing. I was running a mining computer.
So when you say mining, like mining, you're getting little bits of Bitcoin.
Yeah,
And it's
exactly.
tiny fragments.
Exactly.
You have this chip in your computer finds this cryptographic problem.
Yes.
So your computer, you get the reward
Yes.
by getting a small bit of Bitcoin.
Exactly. So usually you can mine, it's called solo mining. You can do solo mining where you're only working with whatever computers you have. But what's a lot more popular is pool mining, where you join a pool and you work together with a group of miners to solve one problem. And once the block is discovered, as they say, each block contains 50 Bitcoins. So depending on the computing power that you were giving the pool, you get paid out in equal measure. So for people, that's a lot more profitable than solo mining because you could solo mine for years and never find a block. So, yeah.
So, yeah, for somebody who has no concept of this, the first thing they're going to ask is, well, who creates these blocks of, who makes this?
That's a good question.
It's like where are we from? Like it's like a chicken and an egg thing.
Exactly.
So,
and that's a very interesting point to bring up because allegedly the creator of Bitcoin is someone called Satoshi Nakamoto. And he is the alleged creator, as I said. But the reason I say alleged is that no one has ever met this person. It's kind of he's kind of a mystery. So no one knows his real identity. Some people have had made theories that it could be a group of people. It could be a specific person and that's just an alias. But no one really knows who this guy is and where he came from. And it's a really interesting concept.
So then how did this take hold? How did this get a foot in society? You know what I mean? Like get a foot in the door, I should say.
Yeah.
So somebody creates this system. This person is a mystery.
Yes.
But then the internet grabbed onto it and said, hey, this is a really cool thing. I want to buy this. It's quite interesting that this market came out of nowhere and now it's challenging traditional currency systems.
Exactly. Well, it started, there was this mailing, this was like before the internet was even really what it is now, but I think in like 2007, 2008, there was like a group of people called the cypherpunks, and they were kind of like anarchistic programmers that were kind of anti-establishment, and they ran this email mailing list, and they were just collaborating together, talking about, creating some kind of digital cash. And Satoshi Nakamoto was a member of that mailing list, and that's where it kind of gained the underground movement. And really, I think there's what is called a white paper, and that's a document that details everything about Bitcoin. And it's really big. It's maybe like I'm not sure exactly how large, but it's like a book. And a lot of the reason it took off is people would read it and they would believe the technology, and they would try to sell it to other people because they believed in it, really.
Wow. That's an interesting history. And so basically this community read this white paper.
Yeah.
And then it took off and gained
there.
momentum, and then here we are today.
Yeah, but I think a big part of it, as you mentioned, is really just convincing people, because really fiat currency, I mean, if you break it down, it's just paper, right? It's just paper that the government makes.
It's an illusion.
Yeah, and the only reason that it has any value is because we trust in it, right? So if I give you a $100 bill or whatever, you're going to trust that you can spend that, right, to buy something. So it's the same thing with Bitcoin. Like, it's a process of convincing people that because this technology makes something that is scarce, it cannot be replicated, it cannot be, like, without the proper means, it cannot be moved or taken, that it is a valid way of transferring value digitally. So that's a really big part of it, and a lot of people have bought into it.
Wow, very interesting. So I'm here with Jerry, and she is from Thailand, and we're talking about islands. So these islands in Thailand get a lot of tourists.
Yes, right.
Thailand probably gets more tourists to its islands than any other country in the world. How is there any concerns about the environment or development on the islands?
Yes, of course. So wherever there are people, there's always an effect on the environment. And you see this a lot, especially on the most visited islands such as Phuket and Samui, with the development of condominiums, schools, malls, leads, deforestation, of course, and more pollution. You also see the effects more on the more vulnerable islands, like the smaller islands, such as I think called Phi Phi or Koh Lanta. All of the islands used to be full of trees and used to be national parks, and now with the people taking speedboats and everything, you really see the oils on the sea. The coral reefs are not as colorful as they should be. All the plastic that comes with, getting food boxes, plastic straws. Yeah, and you really see the ecosystem in the sea are affected.
Yeah, that's really tough. That's a problem that we have to solve everywhere in the world, it seems like, especially the plastic. Do you know about Easter Island in Chile? With the big stone statues?
No, not so much.
Okay. I'll just hang on. I'll just lead in another way. Yeah, that reminds me of Easter Island, which is, famous in Chile for its really large stone monuments, like the stone faces. And they couldn't figure out how the people disappeared or why they disappeared, and now they think it's because they cut down all the trees.
Oh, wow.
And after they cut down all the trees, that basically destroyed the environment, and the people couldn't survive anymore, so they had to leave the island. So islands really are vulnerable, especially with their trees, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one of the reasons I really like Gochang.
Yeah.
Because you can only develop on one side of the road.
Yeah.
So there's a road around the island, and if it's on the beach side, you can develop, but anything inland on the other side of the road, there's pretty much no development. Yeah.
Yes. But there are also, on the positive side, you see, when there are things bad things happening to environment, you see innovation, people actually coming up with ideas. So a lot of hotel chains, for example, are becoming more sustainable. They're incorporating metal straws, paper straws. So you do see some changes, but there's a long way to go.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Eventually business can find a solution.
Yeah,
it's in their best interest, right? Oh, that's really nice. So what about the economy? So I guess the biggest jobs are the resorts?
Yes, so the Thai economy relies on tourists. The hotels, the restaurants. That's where we get our money flowing, I would say. Yeah.
Right, so that's you get the capital influx from other countries.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. So you live in Bangkok. Out of curiosity, how often do you get to a resort or to the beach?
More than I should, to be honest. I love the island, so every opportunity I get, I'll fly down south and then visit the different ones. But yeah, as I mentioned, my favorite one would be called Phangan. Yeah.
Can you fly directly from Bangkok to Koh Phangan?
Yes. Not directly, but you can fly to the mainland, which is Surat Thani. And it's actually nice just to spend a day there because Surat Thani, there's like a culture there, and then you get to try the authentic southern food before you actually go to the islands, and it becomes a little bit more like Western, with the taste and everything. So that's my recommendation. And then the next day you can just go to the pier and take a ferry to the different islands you want to go to.
Oh, wow. So I definitely want to take your advice.
Thank you.
Cool, that's really nice. So I'm here in Bangkok with Jerry, and she is Thai. And Jerry, I thought we would talk about Thai islands.
Of course.
There are some major islands. Can you first talk about the major resort islands in Thailand?
Yes. So as most of you know, Thailand is probably visited because of its islands. So the most well-known ones would be Phuket and Koh Samui, which are both down south in Surat Thani. And yeah, I think those are like the main destinations. They have changed quite a lot since the last 10 years. It's quite developed, so it's an island where, if you really want like a very nice resort and have like a convenient list, like malls everywhere. There's also like international schools, so a lot of people now move to live to Phuket or Koh Samui. It's like a little Bangkok, but by the beach.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow. And Phuket really developed quickly after the terrible tsunami, right? So it's really rebounded, and now it's quite vibrant,
yes,
correct?
Yes, correct, yeah.
Okay. So both Samui and Phuket are the more traditional, maybe tourist package islands.
Yes.
Are there some smaller islands or less known islands that you would recommend?
Yes, we have a lot of islands in Thailand, but just near Koh Samui, you have Koh Phangan, which is also known for its full moon party. That is, the high season. But Koh Phangan is actually really nice. That, like, apart from the full moon, if you visit the other less well-known beaches, Hat Rin, which is where the full moon party happens, there's a lot of, like, hidden beaches that is very quiet, very relaxed, and it's still not as developed as Koh Samui, so you still feel that like island lifestyle. There's a lot of small businesses, local shops.
Oh, that sounds nice. I actually have not been to Koh Phangan, but I've been to Koh Tao, and that's the diving island,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Yeah. Can you talk about that?
Yes, of course. So Koh Tao is known for its crystal clear water and corals for diving, so a lot of people go there to get their diving certificate. That's actually the best place to do it, and you can spend like 3 days there, do the course, and then the island itself is also it's quite remote, so there's like a few stores, not as much as in Koh Phangan, but yeah, it's nice and quiet. And
that's beautiful. And there's some other ones too, right? So there's Koh Chang. Can you talk about that?
Yes, Koh Chang is closer to Bangkok, so you can drive there. It takes about 5 hours. It's in Trat province. Koh Chang is a big island, and there's some people like it, some people don't, because it's less vibrant, I would say, compared to like Koh Samui or Phuket. But there's a lot of like big resorts there, and the beach is also really beautiful.
Yeah, I have to confess, it's my favorite island by far. So I first went there 25 years ago, and it was really quiet then. I mean, incredibly quiet. And the movie came out, The Beach, and I remember when I saw that movie, I'm like, oh, that's Koh Chang. There was nothing to do on the island, and so it's beautiful. It's a national park, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. There's another little one near Bangkok called Koh Samet,
right?
Correct.
Yes. That's a very popular one, especially for Thais to go during the weekend. It's like a 2 hours drive from Bangkok in Chonburi province. And yeah, all you do is you drive there and then you take a quick boat, about 30 minutes to. It's also a national park, so there's entrance fee, but it's really nice. You have the beaches are smaller, but there's like different beaches, and a recommended activity would be just to rent a bike and then drive around the island. Takes about like half a day, but different all the beaches have their own unique character, which is nice to see.
Oh, that's so awesome. Actually, when I was there years ago, I don't think they had the road around the island, but I remember it was just amazing, beautiful beaches. Yeah. So there's two more that are quite famous, or one that's very famous, and that's Koh Phi Phi. That's way down in the south. And there's also Koh Lanta, which is not too far away, I think, as well. So can you talk about those?
Yes. These two I haven't visited. I don't remember visiting them, but I know like a lot of people go there for its clear water, and Koh Phi Phi, I believe, has the well-known like sand in the middle of the ocean that you can walk across one island to the other, and it's known for like taking a boat, and the water is like very clear. And Koh Lanta. Koh Lanta, I think it's also known for the same reason as Koh Phi Phi. For its crystal clear water, and there's like beautiful resorts there too.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to put you on the spot. If you had to choose one island to visit, recommend one place, where would you go?
Koh Phangan.
Koh Phangan.
Without thinking, yes, absolutely,
really?
Yes.
And why?
It's a place that feels like home to me because my mom is there as well. So. We know the locals, which makes a difference. Like and also I think the island hasn't, it's not developed, but there's also like things to see, and you really feel like you're on holiday. You really feel like you're going on an adventure.
Oh man, I think I'm going to go there right now.
Yeah, you should.
I'm serious. I have a week, and I'm like, I'm going to go to an island. So, Natalie, you were saying that you are a foodie.
I'm a huge foodie.
And you are now in Bangkok. And Bangkok is famous for its street stall food, but that's changing.
It is. So this is probably 70% of the reason why I moved to Bangkok, because of the street food. So yeah, the street food scene is changing. It seems like they're trying to take the model that's similar to the hawker centers in Singapore. So the hawker centers is basically where all of the street food carts that used to be on the corner of a street, what we call in Thai a soy, they've been moved into one big center, so almost like a deli center. And I think it's in an effort to keep things clean, and to just have a hub where you get all of your food, and it's easier for tourists. So that's happening a lot. There are pockets of areas in Bangkok where you can still get amazing street food on the street, particularly in the business districts like Siloam. I think they will struggle to get their street food vendors off the streets because it is so convenient for people when they leave work. It's right near the elevated SkyTrain that we talked about earlier. People can just grab some noodles, it's under $1, get the dinner, or perhaps they get the food to take away and then they go home. And these places are always really busy. There's usually a line to get in one of these street food places. And they have little seats, little plastic chairs outside, and little metal tables, so you can eat there, but it is on the street. So there are areas now where you can get amazing street food, but it's not on the street anymore. It's in one of these small hawker-like centers.
Yeah, that's too bad, because I, ate street food going way back to, 25 years ago when I first moved here, and it's just the best. I never got sick eating street food for all my years. It's always clean and safe. And one of the things I really like about the street stall vendors that people don't talk about is that they're always really nice. And I have a theory about this. The people that own the street stalls, often that's their own small little business. So they're the one that's in control of it. And I think mentally they're just happier people, rather than if you go in some restaurant, the service can be quite poor because that person is kind of in servitude. They're not really in control of their little economic endeavor. So I love the street stall people because they're just so positive.
Yeah, it does feel more entrepreneurial. And these guys, something that I love about the street food as well, just while we're on the topic, is you walk down the street in Bangkok and there are all kinds of noises and there's color everywhere. All the cars, the taxis are super colorful. They're really famous for that. But then you will smell something, right? You will smell something being grilled, or you'll smell somtum. So this is where they have the pestle and mortar, and they're mixing up papaya and salad and garlic, and the smell of fried garlic. I feel like if you want to sell something, just blast the smell of fried garlic out. You will get people in. And that's one of the things that I love about the street food here. And as you say, it is really cheap. And the thing is these people have most likely been preparing this food since the night before, right? So there is a huge misconception about street food being dirty, and obviously, of course, there are going to be places that have dirty street food and it might make you sick. But the chances are these people have been preparing these ingredients at home, and then they've brought them onto their street food cart, and they're selling them all day. So they really care about what they're selling, and people go back time and time again. And I can say that because I do, and I wouldn't go back if these people didn't make amazing food.
Yeah, and if people were sick, right, then they would lose their business.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost illogical because when people think that, oh, the street food is dirty, you can see the kitchen. You literally are sitting next to the cook in the kitchen. You can see everything they're doing right in front of you. Yeah. Whereas in a restaurant, you have no idea what goes on in the kitchen.
Yeah. So I can give you some advice for street food. Don't be scared of street food. Try it. But there are a couple of things that you can do to make it a little bit safer. So if you're getting something that's grilled, so we have something here called mu ping, which is pork, and it has a kind of like a sauce on the top of it. It's like coconut and spices. It's delicious. And you'll get it for like 10 baht. Sometimes it'll be sat out, and it might have been out for a while, so maybe you're worried about dirt on it or bacteria growing on it or flies getting on it, something like that. The grill is usually on the cart, so ask the street food vendor or just pick it up yourself and put it back on the grill. So the flames will kill off any bacteria that's on there. So put it on there for a couple of minutes, as long as you need to be happy. And then you can eat it, and it'll be roasting hot, but you can be assured that there's nothing in it.
And they often do that themselves.
Yeah.
Well, even if you don't ask, I've always wondered that they'll just flop it back on there really fast. Another thing that I love that they do in Thailand too is if you go to, it's similar to the streets food. It's the hole in the wall place where literally it's like a room with no door, and it's a bit kind of an outdoor restaurant.
Yeah.
And they have the hot water bucket, and you dip your spoon and fork in the hot water bucket. It's the most brilliant idea. It's not something that almost restaurants should do.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Ingenious.
Yeah, I love that. It's like, okay, let's just sterilize it real fast.
Yeah, so the idea is that the water is usually hot or boiling, so it will kill any bacteria that's on it. If you go to a street food place and perhaps they don't have that, but they do have like a table and chairs set up, when you get a box usually, or like a rectangular metal box, and that has your chopsticks in it, or it has your spoon in it, or your knife. We don't use knives in Thailand. It would be a spoon and a fork. Just use a napkin, wipe it down before you use it. They will have cleaned it before. I've never had any issue, but if you're not sure, just wipe it down with a napkin. There are always napkins.
Yeah, it's so clever. So I'm here with Natalie, and she is working in Bangkok. And how long have you been here?
I've been here about 10 months.
See, it's interesting to hear your thoughts on Bangkok because I was an English teacher here over 20 years ago, from 1994 to 1998. It was my first teaching job. And Bangkok was very different then than it is now. Now I would say it's a pretty amazing cosmopolitan city. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's part of the reason why we chose it. So my partner and I had traveled for about a year and a half, and we said, okay, now let's live somewhere. So we decided to move to Bangkok because it has this great balance of you're still in Southeast Asia, so it still feels like it's developing. It's on its way to something, perhaps what we see Japan or China as now, but it's not quite there yet. And also that you can get all the modern conveniences that you could possibly need here in this city. It's really well connected, so it feels like a regular metropolitan city, but at the same time, it still feels like you're living in Southeast Asia, which is really cool.
It has done an amazing job of becoming this just bustling, beautiful, cosmopolitan paradise. I mean, it's the skyline was not here 25 years ago. So all the buildings that they've built are just amazing. So now it almost rivals Hong Kong or New York, and years ago they didn't have that. So in terms of the city planning, it's just phenomenal what they've done. But also, like you said, they've kept the kind of original cultural vibe to the
Absolutely.
city, which is pretty amazing.
So you have different neighborhoods that you can live in. So there is I guess the main artery of Bangkok is the SkyTrain. So we call it the BTS. And this is I guess what they would consider to be high-speed transportation rail system that goes right through the heart of Bangkok. So a lot of the neighborhoods that I would talk about are kind of populated around the SkyTrain. So you will have pockets of Bangkok that will feel very Thai. So they will be further out on the BTS SkyTrain. But you can still get to the heart of Bangkok where all the malls are, or perhaps where all the business areas are within, 20 minutes. And obviously with it being in Southeast Asia, it's still really cheap. So you can go way out into the areas that are super Thai. You get amazing street food. You'll see very few tourists. And then you can, within 20 minutes, you can be in, say, the Japanese area, which is more expensive, and it has a lot of Western restaurants, and obviously Japanese restaurants. 20 minutes later, you can be in the tourist center, where you'll see all the malls. So it's very accessible.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. Have you been to Dubai?
I haven't, no.
So what's interesting is Dubai and Bangkok have almost the exact same developmental model. So what they did is they built a nice train line, an elevated train, and then along the train they built a bunch of shopping malls and condos, and they built a world-class airport and made it a hub for travel to other areas. And even though Dubai and Bangkok they're so different culturally, it's quite interesting to see that economically they're kind of thriving on the same model. They get lots of international travel. They have a lot of things for tourists to do when they go there. They get a lot of people now that want to retire or maybe live there.
Yeah. The more people that I speak to about that, they're saying the same thing. Bangkok is almost the center of Southeast Asia. You can get pretty much anywhere in the world on a long-haul flight. So you can fly to the UK directly from Bangkok, which is insane. You don't have to stop anywhere. If you want to go to Vietnam from somewhere in the West, you have to stop in Bangkok for the most part. There are very few direct flights. And you can get to the likes of Japan and China within just 5 or 6 hours.
So, Ruofei, you said that your education system is very strict, and you study like 15 hours a day.
Yes.
Okay, so if you were in charge, would you keep the system the same way?
It depends on the person. I think there should be a place that as strict as my high school, and you can choose to send your children to go there, or if the students themselves they want to go to that school, they can go. I think that's really, really motivative to students to study hard, because everybody do the same and they are trying their best to be the best.
Well, yeah, we have a phrase in English like a rising tide lifts all boats, and I think it's kind of the same, right? So if it's really rigorous for most people, it's going to pull everybody up.
Yes.
Okay. There's nothing you would change? Like if you were in charge, like would you give maybe a little more vacation time? Would you start the day later? Would you make classes smaller?
If I can choose, I would definitely don't choose my school, because that was horrible for me, because I need a lot of sleep than normal people, but I cannot have that much time to sleep. So I always sleep on the class, and when somebody found out that I'm sleeping on the class, they will decrease the score of my class.
Oh, that's serious.
Yes, very serious. And your teacher would punish you to write a paper like, I'm sorry I decreased the score of our class. I shouldn't sleep on the class. And I have to write it for like 1 hour to write that stuff.
That is very harsh.
Yeah.
I think, though, a lot of people, when they hear stories like that, they actually are a little bit envious, especially parents or teachers, because in the rest of the world, it's not that students don't try that hard.
Yeah.
So that's kind of special, actually.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's the special point of China.
Wow. So, what time did you have to get up every day to get to school at 6:45 or?
I have to get up at 6.
Oh, well, that was not too bad. That's pretty fast. You wake up at 6, you get
Yeah.
to school by 6:45.
Yeah, I can like wear my clothes pretty fast and directly get on my father's car and eat on my father's car and put my socks on my father's car.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's talk about streamlined, very mobile. That's great. Okay, so what about the tests? So it's really controversial, like in the U.S., about standardized tests rather than just learning. The students often have to prepare for tests.
Yeah.
In your country, is there also a big movement just to have a lot of testing?
We have test each month, and we only do paper test. And the questions can be really difficult. Yeah, always very, very difficult. In my case, I'm the like a middle, in the middle.
Middle of the pack, as we say.
The middle of the pack. And for mathematics, we have totally 150 scores, and probably I can get 60 to 70.
Wow, that's a big range of. I mean, do some students get 100%?
No.
No?
If you get more than 120, you are really brilliant. So the questions always really, really difficult.
Can the teacher get 150?
I'm not sure.
Well, I have to admit, because even like English teachers will tell you, and they're lying if they don't admit this, even on tests like the TOEFL, it's very hard for a teacher to get 100%. Just not because of knowledge, but because of concentration.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. We have a lot of questions, and some of them, they are kind of tricky.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they mislead you a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, no. That's great. So you took all these courses. What was the course you were best at and the course you were worst at?
English was my worst at.
Oh, no, your English is wonderful. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I disagree.
It was.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, how do you learn English in China?
Actually, my speaking skills, I get it from my traveling. I did solo traveling last year.
Wow, you've learned a lot quickly.
And thank you.
That's great. That's really inspirational, I think, for a lot of the students that listen to this site. 1 year.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
But the thing I have to mention about it is you have to know a lot of words. Before you start speaking English, you have to know what you know. Like you have to remember a lot of words, and then you can use it when you have to use it.
Okay, right. So English was tough, not easy.
Not easy. For everything you have to learn. Learning isn't easy and funny stuff. For everyone, starting is hard, and it's kind of betray the human
spirit.
Yes.
So wow, that's crazy. So how many students would be in an English class? I hear that China has huge English classes. Like there might be 100 students in one class.
It can be, but it depends. In my high school, we have the same class at the same classroom, always. And in my university, we have 30 students in my English class.
Oh, that's good. That's kind of normal. That's still a lot for an English teacher. That's a lot. But was your teacher usually Chinese or an international teacher?
Chinese teacher.
Chinese teacher. Okay. And so there was a big stress on grammar and vocabulary, things like that?
Yes.
How about listening?
We only do the audio listening test.
Okay.
So it's always the same pronunciation, like
Yeah, so you don't have a lot of variety of accents or
Yes.
different way. Yeah. So what was your best subject?
My best subject was mathematics.
Oh, great.
Mm.
Yeah, that's impressive. I have a degree in economics, and there's a lot of math. And I went to a good school, but I was not strong at math, and I was terrible at physics. And so physics and economics are kind of related, but not really. I did not do very well in physics. So how are you at physics?
I love I love all the math stuff. Also included physics because you also have to use a lot of mathematics on your physics. And for the physics, you have to know the formula very well, then you can use it. If you don't know the formula very well, you cannot. When the question is there, you cannot apply that.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I agree. It's tough. I'm very impressed with you because whenever I meet somebody who's good at math or physics, I have great admiration because my degree was math heavy, but math was not my strong point.
So what was your strong point?
That's a good question. I was never a good student in anything. I went to how I got to a good university is actually surprising, but I was always middle of the road, middle of the pack, as we said. Always B- student in everything.
I see.
Yeah, I was not exceptional like you.
You don't have to be very good at starting, but you can handle your life very easily. That's also an important thing for a human.
That is true. I do agree with that. But I think if I was a student in China, I would be that Mr. 2000. Okay. So I'm here with Angela, and we're talking about families, differences in family culture and I'm sorry. And we both have experience with the West. Actually, we're both Westerners, and we also have worked and lived in Thailand. Have you noticed a difference in the flow of money, which I think is quite interesting? So in a lot of Asian cultures, especially Thailand, the flow of money goes from the children up.
Yes.
Whereas in the West, the flow of money goes from the parents down, or the older the family member down.
Yes.
It's a completely different flow, which is quite interesting when you think about it.
Isn't it? Because, a lot of the people that are working in Bangkok and some of the tourist places in Thailand, they send money home. They don't earn money for their own keep and their own life. They actually send money home to the villages to pay for their children, to pay for their mothers. And I think it affects the way that people respect people within the family. There's huge respect for older people in Thailand that I didn't notice in the West. And I think maybe it may be something to do with the fact that they are still giving to their parents.
Yeah, that's so true. I think also the fact that the family is almost like a bank.
Yes.
And they have a pool of wealth that they use together as a unit, which I think is just a great concept.
Yeah.
Although when I say this, I don't kick money up to my mother. But I'm always thinking, I wish my family did this. Our family in the West, we should adopt this practice. Everybody gives 10% to the pool, to the family pool.
Yes.
But I don't know if it would ever work.
I don't know if it would work. No.
So you have kids.
Yes.
How would you feel if suddenly your children started giving you 10% of everything they made?
Wouldn't that be wonderful? But it's not going to happen.
Right.
It's just not in our society.
Yeah, but you wouldn't spend it though, right? Like the whole idea is like they just give it to you would be the guardian, you would be the safekeeper of the money.
Yeah, I'd probably have the money and then put the money away for them.
Right.
Because I think that the pressures in the West are different as well. It's very hard now for people to become house owners. So for my kids, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to get on the property ladder. So if they gave me any money, I would give it back to them as a deposit.
Yeah, although there is one other thing that goes the other way, which is in Japan, I hope I say this right, I think it's called a toshidama. Basically, it's you get money from your relatives. If you're a child or a kid, you get money from your relatives on January 1st. They give you an envelope, and sometimes kids might get $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 on New Year's, depending on how wealthy your family is. And I think there's Chinese New Year. Maybe they do something similar. The kids get money. I'm not sure. So there is the other flow where families do give kids money, I think. And also, I remember years ago, when I first came to Thailand, I was talking with a guy, and I said, yeah, one thing that's shocking about kids in Thailand is nobody works. They don't have part-time jobs. Not that many have part-time jobs, although it's changed. I said, in America, you work, and it's a good thing. Like, you build values. And he said, yeah, in Thailand, they can't do that because if a child works, especially for a middle-class family, it's an embarrassment to the family. Like the father can't provide for his children. His children have to work when they should be studying. So it's really interesting, the different dynamics in money across cultures. So I'm here with Angela, and she is a writer and a traveler, a teacher, a businesswoman, and you're also a mother.
Yes. I have twins.
You have twins. That's amazing. Wow. And so you also are now what's called an empty nester. Can you explain what that means?
It's the feeling that you get when you realize that you've worked hard with your kids all those years and now they're ready to leave. And because they're twins, the nest is going to be emptied completely at once.
Yeah.
And I would be in the house by myself. I did think, though, that my son would have stayed home forever. So I would never have got to a position of having an empty nest. And my daughter, she left a little bit earlier. But it was just the thought of, you're in a house that your family's grown up in. What do you do now? Do you take in lodgers? Do you rent the house out? And that's when I made my decision to travel. And it was a gap that I spotted because my kids were 18 at the time. It was likely that my daughter would have grandchildren at some point, or I would have grandchildren, she'd have children, and then it would not be possible to come away again. So I saw the gap. I rented the house out, and my son, who was the last to leave the house, he said, "Mum, are you renting my room as well?" And I said, "Well, of course I'm renting your room. You don't get a house with a teenager resident in it." And he was absolutely flummoxed, but he found somewhere to live. He's working. She's found somewhere to live. She's working. And I think that one of the things you can give your kids actually is independence. I think it's the biggest thing that you can give them.
Yeah, and back in the day, it used to be that you would get kicked out of the nest. That was another phrase, You'd say, like, okay, when you're 18, your parents would, give you that push like a mother bird, go fly, go do your thing. And I think it's still a good thing, actually.
I think it's a very good thing. Yeah.
That you go out, I was not really kicked out, but I did leave right away. And it was a good experience.
It was the best experience. That those years when you've got freedom, you've got your friends, you're growing up, you're learning about the world. You should be out there by yourself.
Now, you've done something against the grain. You went and traveled by yourself, and your gap year. Now, in Asia, where we are, this isn't really an empty nester culture. Like, I don't know if especially Thailand, they don't really push kids out of the house. People stay and live a little bit more. Have you noticed a difference in like kind of the family dynamics now that you're in Bangkok?
I think in Bangkok and Thailand, and certainly the other Southeast Asian countries I've travelled, I've been amazed at how families operate and live together. I think I'm very saddened by my own circumstances in the UK, and lots of people in the UK where families are divided and they don't live together and they don't support each other. When I was living in Isan, it was very obvious that families, because there's no social services, people have to work or they've got no money. So the parents would have to go to Bangkok or Phuket or one of the tourist areas, and the children would be left with the grandparents in the village. So it was obvious that there were lots of children who were growing up with grandparents, aunties. But I looked at this and thought, well, these kids are living in a village where it's safe, they're happy, they grow up as a gang, and they're loved.
Yeah, that's really nice. It's interesting you mentioned that. One of the saddest things I ever saw unexpectedly was when I was in the Philippines. I was flying out. I was in the Philippines, had a great time, And when I was going at the airport, they had this long line. And I didn't know what was going on. It was all these children and their mothers. I mean, we're talking dozens. And it seemed strange. And then it hit me, oh, because the Philippines have so many people that work overseas. These were all mothers that were saying goodbye to their children.
Yes.
Because they had to go work overseas. And it's like, I even get choked up now, like thinking about it. It was just really powerful that like the people that had that situation, that those mothers, they don't want to leave their kid.
Yeah,
That's got to be
but they
really
have
hard.
to.
But they have to. They have to go to wherever they're going to go in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something. I'll never forget that.
Yeah. And I find families over here are just so willing to share. They share their food, they share their beds, they share their houses in a way that is just so different
Yeah.
to what I've experienced in the UK.
That is true. That is true.
Todd, are you good at saving money?
No, I'm terrible. I waste money. I waste so much money.
How?
Well, I don't buy things on sale. I don't use coupons. I buy anything I see. So when I shop, I don't look at prices. I just see the food or the thing and I get it and I buy it and I pay for it, and then it's sometimes very expensive. So I just waste money. I don't budget. I need to budget my money, but I don't budget my money. What about you? Are you good at saving money?
I don't think I'm too bad at saving money. I look at prices a lot. I also buy a lot of things on sale, so I'm able to save some money.
So you look for discounts.
Yes, I do.
Do you use coupons or special offers?
No, I don't. But if I see some, I will use them.
So do you waste money on anything? Like maybe eating out, buying clothes, renting movies?
I waste money on buying clothes.
Oh, okay.
But I save a little bit because I buy them on sale.
Do you buy things online?
No, I don't. I usually go into the stores to shop.
I'm good with clothes too. So I don't spend much money on clothes. I only shop maybe once a year, or I only shop if I need something, like it's really cold and I need a jacket.
I see.
And I'm really bad, so I often only wear clothes people give to me.
That's good.
Yeah, so I get shirts or ties for Christmas gifts or a birthday gift, and I do that. My mom often asks, every year my mom asks, what do you want for Christmas? What do you want for your birthday? And I'll say, underwear and socks, or socks and t-shirts. And so she buys them for me, and then I don't have to buy them.
Wow. Sounds like you're an easy person to give a present to.
Yes, for clothes. Yes, for clothes. But I waste money on computers and electronics, and those things are expensive. So I buy a new computer every year. I have 4 computers now in my house. I have 5 mobile phones.
Wow.
I have an iPad. I have lots of electronic equipment. So I spend so much money on those things.
I waste money on traveling.
Ah, yeah.
Every year I take about 1 or 2 trips to different countries. So that's where a lot of my money go.
Yeah, traveling is expensive.
Yes.
But when you travel, do you save money? Do you stay at cheap hotels, or do you buy cheap plane tickets?
I try to. I try to all the time. But usually the plane ticket is so expensive that a lot of my savings is already gone.
Yeah, I know. I buy my tickets online, usually with Expedia,
Okay.
and it's cheap. It's pretty cheap. I waste money on food. I eat out almost every day, or I
Wow.
buy my dinner at the supermarket almost every day. Do you waste money on food?
No, I don't. I usually get bored if I eat out too much because even though I am not a very good cook, there are some things that I cook that I like to eat. So I would miss those things. So no, I don't waste money on eating out.
Ah, that's interesting. So you save money. I waste money. You have to teach me your tricks. You have to teach me your tips on saving money.
Please teach me how to get cheap travel tickets.
It's a deal.
Thanks.